I looked at the birthday book and had a physical reaction to it. It felt like I was going to throw up, at least in my mouth, a little bit, and that it was a confirmation of all of the possible worst case scenarios that you could imagine about what's going on. This video is just a preview of the full episode, which is available now on our own Raging Moderates YouTube channel. That's where we're bringing you more of the content you want, up-to-the-minute videos and conversations, in addition to the Wednesday and Friday pods, which you've been listening to for a while. You can click the pop-up link now or head over to youtube.com/@RagingModerates to subscribe. Hope you will. Because there are a lot of folks who vote in different ways, right? A lot of Democrats and Republicans that kind of want to bypass these things, right? And just, we want to think the best of it, right? We certainly can't be accusing everybody that fraternized with him of being guilty of, doing it with 13, 14-year-old girls. But you look at some of these images, including obviously the card that the president now drew for him, highlighting that we have certain things in common, and it is in the frame of a woman's body. And some people on the internet pointed this out, and I hadn't noticed it until I saw folks pointing this out, but the breasts are very small. It's not like how you would typically draw boobs. I don't draw a lot of boobs, but it's not grown-up boobs that Donald Trump has drawn there. It's just, little, and maybe, he's not into big boobs or whatever, but it has a young girl vibe to it. And when you see actually the signature as pubic hair in real life versus someone describing it to you as it was in the Wall Street Journal article originally, your stomach just drops. And so I thought, well, this is going to be the worst of it, right? Because this was the lead aspect of the story. But for me, it got so much worse. And I don't know if you've looked at the other drawings that were in the birthday book, but one in particular is a sketch, and it's in color, kind of like crayon looking, of Epstein giving balloons to little girls in 1983. And then it's labeled 1983. And then there's another image of him being massaged and potentially orally serviced, it looks like, by a woman in a thong, and that's labeled 2003. And the line says under it, "What a great country." So it's just all there spelled out for you that this person was obviously a groomer, that this person was a pedophile, a sex trafficker, all the worst things that you could ever imagine. And by looking at the letters that are enclosed in this birthday book, you know that some of the most powerful people in American society were totally fine with it, found some redeeming quality in him. This is going to become harder and harder to believe that there wasn't something nefarious going on in all of these connections. And this goes so far beyond what I had to adjust to as locker room talk in 2016, right? With the Access Hollywood tape. I have accepted that American society is cool with that. But to look at what's in this book and think that people are going to be okay with this breaks my heart. What did you feel?
It's funny because when I first saw that one image, I just might be tone deaf.
The card?
Yeah,
or the balloons?
The image, the card.
Yeah.
I might be just tone deaf and thick, but I just kind of didn't get it. And then when I read, someone pointed out that this looked like someone who was going through or had not gone through puberty yet, and the pubic hair thing, like, you're right. You hear that, and it's just like, whoa. I mean, that's just creepy. And then the creepiest thing, or creepy squared, was I thought, okay, I don't think he's a very creative person. I don't think he's the kind of person to go into his basement with scissors and paper and kind of workshop some creative cards. He clearly got help. And my sense is, I'm just trying to imagine him saying to someone, hey, I want to send this guy a birthday card. Can you brainstorm some ideas? Him describing what he wanted and then seeing it and going, that's perfect. this wasn't like an errant, like stupid, like people send stupid emails or like make offhanded comments that are totally inappropriate. I get out over my skis all the time and say shit that's just not appropriate. And then I look back and they go, I wish I could take that back. But this felt like a work. This felt like a piece of work and a project where he hired or had resources and he instructed them, this is the vibe I want to get across. It's got to be funny. It's got to be creative. It's a book. And then people came back to him probably with several ideas and he said, that's the one. Mm-hmm. And it's, unfortunately, I think right now the most consequential figure in the world is probably not Putin. I think it's Xi. I think Xi is in the background playing us like a fiddle. And then probably number two in terms of damage, I would argue, is Bobby Kennedy. He'll be consequential in 5 or 10 years when we have measles and rubella outbreaks, and then people realize that, okay, this is why we have these outbreaks, by creating massive friction around getting vaccines. But arguably the most powerful person in domestic politics right now is Epstein, posthumously, because he basically shut down the government. And in order for Speaker Johnson to try and get this out of the news cycle, he dismissed Congress early. And it's not as if they don't have a lot to do. So he shut down the government. And my favorite was Speaker Johnson claiming that, no, Trump is actually a hero in all of this, that he's an FBI informant. And even, it sounds like even MAGA hasn't picked up on that. Even MAGA's gone, okay, that's a bridge too far. But this is, essentially, it feels as if, I would argue that those narco-terrorists or innocent civilians, whatever your viewpoint is on those people who were killed in the boat off the Venezuelan coast, I think Epstein did that. I believe, and this is my thesis, that there are 5 or 6 people in a room querying AI, different LLMs with different prompts around how do we keep Epstein out of the news cycle. And they're coming up with just a ton of ideas, whether it's threaten to fire Chairman Powell, now say that's bullshit tomorrow. A military strike that against a nation that doesn't have the power to move back under the auspices of narco-terrorism. Change the name of a cabinet for no real reason. And that's not to say that they don't want to do these things or they don't think these things are right. But I think everything is done under I think there was a concerted, methodical, and quite frankly, quite effective strategy right now of every day pushing Epstein out of the media cycle. I think Jeffrey Epstein right now is the most powerful person posthumously, or the most consequential and influential figure in American politics. What are your thoughts? Do I sound very conspiracy theory here?
No, not at all. This has been the theme since, I don't know what, it's a couple months now, I should say, since this came back into the news in a very prominent manner. And you see it all over social media. Whatever the headline is like, where are the Epstein files, right? And Caroline Leavitt, there was that conspiracy theory that one day when she had to talk about Epstein, she didn't wear her cross to the press briefing room. But those are the hardest questions that she gets, because she knows also that this is something that activates the MAGA base. This isn't the usual liberals are over here screaming the sky is falling and, we're going to oppose everything that's going on. There is a core faction of Donald Trump supporters that are incensed about this. And it's not just the fact that young women were abused, raped, trafficked. It's that Donald Trump sold them on this idea that he wasn't part of the cabal of powerful men that are preying upon the rest of society. And it turns out that not only is he part of it, that he's a main feature of the birthday book, right? He is a flagship participant in this world. And, there are some big time Republican or MAGA influencers that are going along with Trump on this. Like Charlie Kirk has, he's buttoned up now, right? And he's on message and whatever they're saying now. Caroline Leavitt tweeted that this somehow exonerated him. I mean, they're trying to get into the signature comparisons, and to the Journal's credit, and a lot of credit goes to the Journal for this, they included signature comparisons from Trump around the same period and notes to George Conway, who he's obviously no fan of anymore, and to Hillary Clinton. I mean, this is indisputable. The New York Times is out with their analysis of it. It is obviously his signature. So this idea that Donald Trump is somehow the hero in it and Mike Johnson had to back off of the ludicrous idea that he was the FBI informant that's actually exposing all this terrible stuff that's going on is not going to fly. J.D. Vance has been humiliated, 50 ways from Sunday on this because he had posted, excuse my language, but in a word, this is bullshit. It's not bullshit. And I understand that you have the fight or flight response to these things. And they think like, well, what can we do? Deny, 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 deny. Let's slap a huge lawsuit out there, $10 billion. And Rupert Murdoch in the Journal basically said, if you come for the king, you best not miss. And they missed. They missed bigly on this one. And the idea that they thought that there was a chance that the Journal would have gone to print with something this massive that they hadn't fact-checked to oblivion is beyond reckoning. Or, that's the wrong word. Beyond comprehension. That is the correct way to say it. So, hats off to the Journal for doing this and being so buttoned up about it as well. But this is the Epstein files, and how this is all being handled is one of those 80-20 issues that we hear about all the time that the Democrats always take the wrong side of, right? Like, trans people in competitive sports. Basically, no one is satisfied with how the Trump administration is managing this. And Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie, who are spearheading that bipartisan discharge petition, they need a couple more signatures. They have 4 Republicans that have signed on thus far, and they're talking about reading names on the floor of Congress. They obviously want to protect survivors who don't want to have their names mixed up in this. But when you look at the way that the ball is rolling from the press conference with 10 survivors speaking out to, unlikely heroes like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who a clock is right twice a day.
You got to give her credit, though. She's
totally
shown a lot of leadership here. She comes across as unafraid and trying to do the right thing. I think she comes out of this, regardless of what happens, a big winner.